Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your narrator, Captain Cody Anderson, and on behalf of the Commander, 5th Operations Group, Colonel Scott Maytan, welcome to Minot Air Force Base and the 23rd Bomb Squadron Change of Command ceremony. We are pleased you are with us today to share in this important ceremony as we bid farewell to Lt Col John Burrell and welcome in a new leader, Lt Col Michael Middents. Before we begin today's ceremony, I would like to take this opportunity to go over military protocol and ceremony etiquette. Wait a moment. During the ceremony, you will be given cues on when to stand and be seated. Today's ceremony will be conducted as an indoor event. Therefore, all military personnel should remain uncovered and stand at the position of attention during the playing of the national anthem. We ask our civilian guests to join us in honoring our nation by standing with your right hand over your heart while the anthem is played. Additionally, all military personnel must stand at the position of attention during the presentation of the Meritorious Service Medal, the Change of Command, and the Air Force Song. Our ceremony today is a celebration of both continuity and change. Continuity in the form of a military tradition whose roots reach back through time to the legions of ancient Rome, to the passing of signets that once symbolized the transfer of command from one to another. Change, as this great command says farewell to an honored leader and welcomes his successor through a ceremony that differs only in style, not substance, from those of the Romans. Once the members of the official party have taken their place, please remain standing for presentation of our nation's colors by the Minot Air Force Base Honor Guard, our national anthem, and the Invocation by Chaplain Watton. Today we are honored to have many special guests in attendance. Special guests of Lt Col John Burrell include his spouse Alicia, and their children Will and Izzy. Special guests of Lt Col Michael Middents include his spouse Crystal, and their children Porter, Ivy, and Scarlett. And his parents, Mr. David and Mrs. Diane Middents. Distinguished guests in attendance include Commander, 5th Bomb Wing, Colonel Brad Cochran. Command Chief, 5th Bomb Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Aaron McElroy. We would also like to welcome all other commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, friends, and members of the 23rd Bomb Squadron joining us virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party.
Hoist the colors. Reset. Halt. Humps! Col is down. Halt!
Chaplain Watton, please come forward to offer the invocation.
As I pray in my faith tradition, I invite you to pray in yours. Lord, we come to you today to celebrate the leadership of Lt Col John Burrell during his 2 years as the 23rd Bomb Squadron Commander, and for Lt Col Michael Middents as he assumes command. We ask you to bless Lt Col John Burrell as he moves on in his career, and we will remember his servant leadership that he demonstrated daily for his airmen and for the United States Air Force. We ask for your blessing for Lt Col Michael Middents, and that you grant him favor, strength, and wisdom as he steps into the role for the 23rd Bomber Squadron. May he always look to you for wisdom and guidance in the midst of difficult decisions. We want to thank the family of Lt Col John Burrell and Lt Col Michael Middents for their continued service to the United States Air Force. We also want to thank the airmen of the 23rd Bomber Squadron for always putting service before self, and for their families, loved ones, and friends that have stood behind them through deployments, missed dinners, and tears. Without their love and support, their task would have been impossible. Lord, we come to you this morning to say thank you for everything you have given us, and thank everyone that made this ceremony possible. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Honor Guard and Chaplain Watton. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the Commander, 5th Operations Group, Colonel Scott Maytan.
Thanks, Colonel. Well, good morning, everybody. Wow, what a great day. We're trying to sandwich in a change of command ceremony with B-52s flying, helos flying on our airfield, support vehicles driving all over the place. This is what we do. This is fantastic. Colonel Cochran, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Chief Max, so good to see you. Alicia, Will, Izzy, thanks for being here today. I know this is the last event between you and a trip to Chick-fil-A, so we will try to expedite. Crystal, welcome to the 5th Operations Group team. Porter, Scarlett, Ivy, so nice to have you here today. I look forward to getting to meet you a little bit better and to know you. Diane, thanks for making the trip. I understand that Dad is close, but he'll be here sooner than later, but we wish him well as well. It's so good to see everybody today on this beautiful, beautiful morning. Chaplain, great words. Always good to have you here. All of that I just talked about and these welcomes and this family affair that we're having really put me in a mindset to think about what we're doing today. And so I'm going to start with a few key words I think that are very central to what this organization is all about. Fights on, bomber barons, fly, fight, win. 7 words within the 23rd Bomb Squadron's rallying cry that I think really capture the warrior airman ethos of the squadron, number one, and the warrior airman ethos that our Air Force expects everyone that wears this uniform to aspire to. You know, about a year ago, I had the chance to hear our Chief General Goldfein in person, and that group at that time, one of the thoughts he closed the session with was, he told a group of Air Force leaders, you know, I don't know when the next conflict is coming, but I know that we have from right now until then to get ready, whenever that is. And so I need all of you to treat every day like it's the last day of peace. And I think those words that I just spoke to capture all of that. I think the 23rd Bomb Squadron, over the course of its life, has exactly captured that mindset in its entirety. From 1917, when this squadron was formed 2 months after our nation declared war, and then it quickly deployed to Europe, where it trained for combat operations, and it was slated to go into combat on the Western Front, but it did not because the armistice was signed. To 23 years later, on a Sunday morning in a sleepy Pacific harbor, when the 23rd Bomb Squadron found itself getting airborne and fighting for its life in the opening days of America's Second World War. To all the operations since 1991, when the Cold War ended and warfare was supposed to end, and the countless combat operations to the Middle East and to Europe, and the deterrence and shaping operations that the Barons have deployed for in the Pacific, and by the way, a couple times almost went to war in the Pacific, the fight's on. It's always on. And I think the last couple years under Colonel Burrell's leadership have been absolutely no different. I want to take a minute to just capture some of the things the Barons have done under his leadership and through their efforts in a peacetime environment. So just a few days after I got here in the summer of 18, the Barons deployed for 3 weeks to Nellis Air Force Base. They flew and fought in Red Flag 18, where they were working with our partners from Latin America to prepare for whatever contingency might be appropriate. They stayed in Vegas an extra week to be a part of Green Flag 18, which is a close air support exercise. They did that with the U.S. Army. That was all to help them prepare for their coming continuous bomber presence deployment in January of 19, where they went to the Pacific yet again. That continuous bomber presence deployment was a little over 6 months, and 240 airmen from this wing deployed, all as a part of Colonel Burrell's 23rd Expeditionary Bomb Squadron. And they went to Guam, and then they went everywhere else. 9 forward locations, 80 sorties to get there within about 300 sorties that were flown in those 6 months. Millions of miles, air miles flown all over the Pacific. I believe there was a red flag in Alaska in all that, and a couple of other coalition exercises everywhere from Australia to Hawaii to the North Pacific in between. That was a busy deployment. That's what peacetime operations are, to ensure we remain at peace, showing that presence. The fight's on. While they were there, and then when they got home, the 23rd was intimately involved in developing new tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs we call them in this Air Force business. Something about sub-killing JDAM. That's a completely new concept that we're trying to execute and implement, and we've tried to do that on a training level as well since we've been back. TTPs that you helped shape and you brought back to the group and the community. The first ever mauled shot in a combat hammer. We've trained to the mauled for about a decade. We actually now are testing them in an operational environment, and the 23rd led that charge. And something about sending Barons to integrate with a weapons school integration phase. What I knew is ME, now it's moved on to a different name. We usually reserve senior instructors and senior aviators to go participate in that very advanced level exercise. The 23rd sent its line crews to go do that. Flying, fighting, and training to win. Because the fight's on. This is mine, so there's something about a nuclear mission too that I think we need to talk about. Hectic Rollers in 18 and 19, Global Thunders in 18 and 19, Prairie Vigilances, all these names and terms, and they all come back to taking B-52s onto this ramp, making those noises, possibly putting nuclear weapons on those airplanes to show the world that we are a nuclear asset and an instrument of our nation, should we be called on to do that, and we do that well. We've done those generations by ourselves. We've done those generations with our partners at Barksdale. We've done those generations with notice, without notice. We've done those generations even leaving this base for the first time. And then projecting B-52 power to Europe on the heels of a generation in a disconnected but connected kind of way to show the world that we can do exactly what we say we can do if we choose to, because we are the United States Air Force. All of that demonstrates a high state of readiness and preparedness by the 23rd Bomb Squadron, meeting Chief Goldfeин's intent. None of that is by accident. In my humble opinion, any Air Force organization's success is completely a function of the ability of the organization's men and women to sync their efforts with the guidance and vision of their commander. And that's what the 23rd Bomb Squadron has done for the past 2 years under Colonel Burrell. We tend to think of Squadron Command sometimes as a 18-month or 2-year mark on a long Air Force career. Why do we only get 2 years of command in a 20-something year career? Maybe another way to think of it is command is the culmination of a journey that started when you were commissioned as a second lieutenant and was only successful because over the past 15 or more years you've been able to prepare yourself, learn lessons, develop your officership, airmanship, and leadership to be ready for this task. To take an organization of almost 100 people and shape them to do all of the things that we just talked about perfectly. That's a real tribute to you, the culture that you've built in the 23rd Bomb Squadron, and to the 23rd Bomb Squadron itself. Thank you for that, Colonel Burrell. Changes of command are always bittersweet. This one is no different. But as we say farewell to a great warrior and an even better friend, without blinking an eye, we welcome in the Middents family and Lieutenant Colonel Mike Middents. Command is a journey. Colonel Burrell, you have successfully commanded the 23rd Bomb Squadron. Colonel Middents, you are about to command the 23rd Bomb Squadron. Like Colonel Burrell, you have prepared yourself for this moment. It's been a journey since you were commissioned. You've served at both B-52 bases. You've served in multiple squadrons. You understand B-52 operations. You've instructed as a weapons officer in this platform. You've served on staffs in Europe. You've prepared yourself for the operations and the strategic environment that our B-52s operate within. Thank you for getting yourself ready. Thanks, Chief. I think I'm recovering. Of course, my water's way over there. It's cough made me lose my place. I apologize. So as we go forward, the 23rd Bomb Squadron has demonstrated a high level of success and competence, and most importantly, readiness for the nation. But unfortunately, we all know that today's readiness does not assure tomorrow's readiness. And so the 23rd Bomb Squadron is going to have to prepare itself mentally, emotionally, and through the physical hard work of day-to-day operations to get ready for the next challenges demanded of it by our Air Force because of the environment that the world is. And they're going to have to get ready to follow the leadership of Colonel Middents. And I have no doubt that they'll be able to do that, and Colonel Middents' preparation will be ready for any challenge. So Colonel Burrell, thank you for carrying the Barrens for 2 more years of its illustrious 103-year history. You have flown, fought, and prepared this team to win for 2 years and done your very best. We're grateful for that. Colonel Middents, welcome to the 23rd. It's your turn. Fight's on.
Thank you, Colonel Maytan. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Burrell will receive the Meritorious Service Medal. Due to current social distancing procedures, his medal is on display on the table. Please stand for the presentation of the award. Attention to orders. Citation to accompany the award of the Meritorious Service Medal, 3rd Oak Leaf Cluster, to Lt Col John E. Burrell for meritorious service, 11 May 2018 to 23 June 2020. Lt Col John E. Burrell distinguished himself in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Commander, 23rd Bomb Squadron, 5th Operations Group, 5th Bomb Wing, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, from 11 May 2018 to 23 June 2020. During this period, Colonel Burrell's leadership led to the successful execution of United States Strategic Command's first ever no-notice, dual-wing nuclear generation exercise, producing 16 strike packages and 8 sorties. Additionally, Colonel Burrell orchestrated 6 vital nuclear weapons tests and 5 United States Strategic Command communication exercises, validating the President of the United States' nuclear forces, strategic capability, and lethality. Furthermore, Colonel Burrell managed the $2.5 million upgrade of the 23rd Bomb Squadron's secure mission planning facility, creating the first squadron-level secure video teleconference at Minot Air Force Base, setting the standard for United States Air Force Global Strike Command. Moreover, his leadership drove the 23rd Bomb Squadron's success during 5 United States Air Force Global Strike Command level inspections, exceeding goals and garnering recognition from the inspection team as the command's benchmark nuclear training program. Finally, Colonel Burrell directed the first ever $3.5 million aerial refueling operations test between a KC-46 and B-52, certifying the $165 million next generation tanker for operations with the B-52. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Burrell reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Lt Col John Burrell.
All right. He is tall, isn't he? I'll start with water in the middle, and then press from there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's been a journey, like you said, sir. 2 years, but it went by like 2 days. It's really unbelievable. Colonel Cochran, thank you for being here. I know you have movers at the house. You're very busy, so thank you. I appreciate it. Chief, again, thank you for being here as well. Colonel Maytan, thanks for officiating. It's been a journey these past 2 years. I've learned a lot from you, and I look forward to learning more as we press on with the future. To the Middents family, welcome. You have a great journey ahead of you. The next 2 years are going to fly by, and they'll be done before you know it. For everybody out there in Zoom land, for the Barons, the Nighthawks, the Ironmen, for my family, my parents back home, Aspen, Lindley, congrats on your successful command as well. Wish you could all be here, but it's great to have you on Zoom. All right, let's get this thing going. All right, first to the Barons. Thank you for making the last 2 years easy. You come into command, you don't know what to expect. You know that you want to push it up and you want to fight hard and you want to fly well. Day one, I knew that I had an easy job because I had a very capable, competent, credible, and amazing bunch of airmen. From the very junior enlisted all the way up to the senior officer in the squadron, I knew that they had it down and they were going to make it easy for me. Day one, that first deployment to Red Flag, I knew that they had it in the bag. I didn't have to worry. We stepped out the door to Guam, flew the busiest CBP in history, and at times I had bombers on 3 different islands, continents, countries, whatever you want to call it. I had captains executing, leading the fight, flying, and I didn't have to worry about it. That's how good the Barons are. That's the squadron that you're taking over, Bear, and that's really amazing. Phone keeps locking here. All right. I had zero doubts that the Barons were going to be successful, and they proved it every single day. Chaplain, I want to echo something that you said. Servant leadership. So, Bear, as you go forward, Remember, servant leadership is what's going to make you successful. Authority is given, but leadership is earned. If you lead the barons, they will follow you into the volcano, I promise you 100%. I know you'll lead them well. I know you'll be successful. So continue to carry that charge forward. To the Middens family, it's a team effort. It really is. We've got some gifts from the squadron under your chairs there for everybody. You're joining a great family, and they're going to take care of you. So be ready for that. All right. Alicia, Will, Izzy, I know that you all have sacrificed a lot. You gave up more than you know right now to make this 2 years happen, and I really appreciate it. For the longest time, we had this photograph hanging in our heritage room. This nose art's not on the B-52 anymore, but it's the Baroness is what it's called. It's like we lost our mic there. Check, check.
Just stand there and look pretty.
Just making sure it's good for you, Bear. I'm working the issues out, don't worry. It's going to happen all the time. Just adapt and overcome, roll with it, you'll be fine. All right. Like I said, this photo's been hanging in our heritage room for a long time. I was able to get a copy of it, and we got all the spouses to sign it, so this is for you guys. All right, finally to the barons. I want to close with some words that you all know very well. I flew lead for you from the beginning, and you all followed, and it was amazing. In the future, as you go forward with Colonel Middents, I want you to fly well, I want you to fight hard, and I want you to win. Baron 01's in the break. Bear, you have lead on the left.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Bryson Ayers, Director of Operations, 23rd Bomb Squadron, would like to bid farewell to Lieutenant Colonel Burrell by rendering him one last salute. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the official change of command. Attention to orders. Department of the Air Force, Headquarters, 5th Operations Group, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, Special Order Golf-20-004, dated 23 June 2020. By order of the Commander, Lieutenant Colonel John E. Burrell will relinquish command to Lieutenant Colonel Michael G. Middents, 23rd Bomb Squadron, Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, effective 23 June 2020. Signed, Colonel Scott H. Maytan. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the commander, 23rd Bomb Squadron, Lt Col Michael Middents.
Colonel Cochran, Colonel Maytan, Chief McElroy, commanders of Team Minot, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's ceremony, whether virtually or in person. Colonels Cochran and Maytan, thank you for your trust and confidence in me to lead this incredible squadron. Sheriff and Alicia, thank you for the warm welcome to the 23rd and for the excellent transition for me and Crystal. Your exceptional service and leadership over the past 2 years is evident in the team that you've created here. Thank you to all those who had a hand in setting up today's ceremony as well, and most especially to my family for your continued support. It's a true honor to be the commander of the world-famous Bomber Barons. I promise that in this role I'll continue the squadron's dedication to the profession of arms as guarantors of our national security. I commit to give my all to ensure the readiness of the Barons and to take care of their families. The Bomber Barons have a rich history and culture, as Colonel Maytan discussed earlier. Activated in 1917, the 23rd was known from the start as innovators in air power. Although they didn't get to fight in that initial fight, they were actually taken from squadrons, placed in others, so their innovation could be learned by other squadrons. One of our squadron's most unique missions, pretty well known, we diverted a lava flow away from a town by bombing a volcano. We even dropped houses in pieces from bombers to build towns in Hawaii. Innovation at its best. We showed our resilience at Pearl Harbor by picking ourselves up and taking the fight to our enemies at Midway. I've observed the 23rd from the outside over the past year and how the Barons continue to provide our country innovative strategic air power, leading within the bomber community. 2020 has been a challenging year for our country, and it seems that we can expect more challenges to come. The 23rd has met these challenges as absolute professionals. The Barons are a true family where everyone is respected and valued. This family met the challenges of 2020 without skipping a beat in readiness, providing reliable security to our country and allies in a time of uncertainty. We will continue to do so. Those who would take advantage of the current world situation are watching us. Adversarial opportunists factor our readiness into their decision-making processes. And over the past couple of months, we have shown our will and capability to protect air power and compete anywhere in the world. We will continue to deter our would-be adversaries and assure our allies. And should deterrence fail, the 23rd is ready to unleash our nation's most destructive weapons on our enemies. The Barons are an indispensable part of a cadre of bomber airmen who are able to protect American air power at a time and place of our nation's choosing. Last week, we sent conventional missions to Europe and back while simultaneously jetting nuclear missions here at Minot. And we're not stopping anything for this event today. Sheriff and I actually looked at each other as we listened to the engines start today proudly as the Barons are starting engines ready to go out. So this week we're going to be dropping several of the myriad sets of weapons that we carry at ranges across the country, training our aviators to lead combat formations. Barons, you are indeed world famous. When you take off, our adversaries watch closely, and I have watched firsthand from overseas how citizens of our allied countries cheer you on. I am proud to now stand with you to lead you. When we get the call to punish our enemies with this incredible force for destruction behind me, they better be ready, because we certainly will be. Fights on, nuke 'em, Barons.
At this time, Lt Col Bryson Ayers, Director of Operations, 23rd Bomb Squadron, would like to welcome Lt Col Middents by rendering him a first salute. In keeping with Air Force tradition, we will conclude today's ceremony with the playing of the Air Force song. While it is customary for Air Force members to stand, we invite all of our guests to join us in standing for the Air Force song and the departure of the official party and special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, we die into the sun. Down we die, spouting flames from under. I'm now giving the gun. Give him the gun! Down we down, soon to meet our thunder. They've gone, hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing will stop the U.S. Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the departure of the official party and special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending, and join us in welcoming Lt Col Middents and his family to the 23rd Bomb Squad family.